Hey everybody, it's Daniel back with part 6. In this video what we're going to do is we're going to create a basic login screen. So here's our email address and we can type in astfastf@example.com 1234, and if we hit the sign in button then it takes us to this screen right here. So it's doing a little bit of validation. So I can go back and say, hey, say I just type Daniel Malone long pass test or whatever, click the sign in button, nothing happens. But as soon as we put in the correct password, so say we type 1234 and that's what it's set up to take right now, and again, you don't want to do this in real life, but in this demo it's okay. You're going to need to add some more logic in real life to complement this. But I type 1234, hit the sign in button, and here we go. This is just a basic page, basic activity, and it goes just a picture of me. And we'll also add this picture just to show you how to put pictures inside of Android Studio. So again, type out your email address, and right now I have this set up to only validate passwords. So I can type 123, sign in, nothing happens. And in real life I might want to display a message, but type 1234, my special password, click the sign in button, and boom, we're in. So I'm going to go ahead and kill that because that's what we're going to do in this tutorial. So let's go to Android Studio. I have it opened up here, and let's do this. Let's do my custom login. So I have custom login, example.com is fine, the default is fine. Make sure you select include Kotlin support. Again, we've done this in previous videos. This screen's okay. Select basic activity, go ahead and click next, and finish is fine. All that's good, and Gradle is going to build. And when it does, it'll let us know. So just give it a couple of seconds. I'm on a fairly fast MacBook Pro. It looks like it's done now. I'm going to go ahead and close that. So the first thing we need to do is let's go ahead and create our layout first. So by default, when you open up Android Studio the way I just did, it's going to show you two tabs at the top, main activity and content main. If it's not open, go over to the left, and there's a project panel. You can open and close that, and you want to make sure you're inside of Android, and it might look kind of like that, all squished down, but you can just double click it to open it up. So there's Java, there's the COM, or what we're interested in is the layout. So it's inside of, I'm going to go ahead and close that. It's inside of resources, or res, layouts, and then content main. So here we are. So first of all, there's this message, there's this hello world thing right there. And there are two modes for this. So open up, content main, and at the bottom there are two different modes. There's text mode and design mode. So we're going to be working in design mode, and this might be opened or closed. It's the palette. You can open and close that kind of stuff. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and with content main open there, I'm going to select hello world and hit the delete key on my keyboard, and that'll get rid of it. So we need to enter a field for our email address. So let's go over to make sure palette is open up, go to text, and then where it says, let's drag in an email. So we can just click and drag, and we're just going to drag it. Let's just drag it in the center. Just doesn't really matter. We'll adjust it in just a second, but just drag it somewhere onto the screen. Now we're working with constraint layout. So the way this works is, well, right now this is not really going to work if you run it in the emulator, but let's go ahead and select it and see how there are little circle icons on the sides. What we can do is click on there, drag to the top, and then let go. And see how it slides up there? It slides right in place. Now let's do the same thing on the left side. So click, drag, and boom, drag it to the left side of the screen. Now let's do the same thing to the right. So again, on the right side of there, click that, and then click and drag, and then let go. Okay, so now it's in the middle. So you notice that it doesn't take up the entire width. That's because constraint layout has a number of different modes. So let's go ahead and just see how there's a bunch of space there. There's a space on the right also. I want this field to go all the way to the edge and all the way to the edge. So with that selected, go over to the right. And again, that might be closed, but you can open it up by clicking the attributes there. So go ahead and open up attributes, and you should see, and you might be in different modes there. This is everything. That's kind of the standard mode. That's just every possible thing you can edit just about. So make sure you're on this, and with email address selected, or email to edit text selected, you see this kind of box here, and it might be a little bit confusing, but see how there's the arrows or the little icons on and kind of in the center here. So this toggles you between different modes. So you can just click and just keep clicking, and it kind of toggles between different modes. So some of the modes, you just keep clicking on it. I think there are 3 different modes, but keep clicking on it until this edit, one more time I guess. Okay, now it takes up all of the space. So again, if it's short like that, or if it doesn't take up all the space, just keep clicking. Click again, click, and boom, it takes up all the space. Okay, so we have our email field there, and let's go ahead and type out a hint. Let's call this email. So there's our email, and we can see it has a hint there. So I'm going to save it and go ahead and run it, and I have an emulator open up, so I'm going to go ahead and select use same selection for future launches. And again, if you don't know how to set up an emulator, check out a previous video or leave a comment below. I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to go to my emulator, and if you give it a couple of seconds, depending upon how fast your computer is, it will build it and run. So here it says indexing, okay. I think it works, and okay, here's our email address. So we can type out our email address. So that's all cool. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close that. That's great. So now let's do the password field. Okay, so again, over to the left, there's common, there's buttons, there's all kinds of stuff. Click on text, and then I think there's a password. Yeah, so password. The same thing that we did for email. Click and drag that in somewhere inside of the design. It doesn't matter where, just put it somewhere. I'll put it right there. We can kind of position this around, but it's not really going to stick until we actually apply the constraints. So just like we applied the constraints to the email field up there, let's do the same thing for password. So again, find the circle icon, click, drag, then let go. So we dragged it below this email field. Good. Okay, now the left. So click, drag, let go, and boom, there it is. Okay, on the right side, click, drag, let go, and boom, there it is. Okay, so with that selected, let's go ahead and the same thing, kind of toggle between fixed, and you see, I forget what this is called. It's called match constraints. And there are other ways to do this. You could do it there also. 0dp, I think, is how you do it. Yeah, so if you want to do it a different way, it's 0dp. This will work for now. I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. Okay, cool. So we have our email, we have our password. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'm going to go ahead and run this because I like to run it very often. And when you're starting out, you're going to want to run it fairly often yourself, because things might go wrong, and you don't know if you work on it for 3 hours and it doesn't work. You don't know what line in the past 3 hours you've worked on actually caused it to mess up. Okay, so we have our email, but if we notice for the password field, it doesn't say password there, and we can type out something there, and that works. It's a password field, so we can actually see it, but if we get rid of all of these characters, it doesn't have, see how it doesn't have the password text there. So let's go back to Android Studio, select this, and then for the hint, let's type out password. Hit enter, and there it is. So I'm going to run it one more time and go back to the emulator. Gradle build is running, and here we are, and good enough. There it is. Okay, one last thing. We need the button. Okay, so back over to here, go to buttons, and there's also another way to do this. You can right click and do add to design, I think. But I'm going to go ahead and just click and drag, and I'm just going to drag it somewhere, right there is fine. Okay, so we have our button. So I'm going to go ahead and do left side first. I'll drag it to the left, then I'll let go of my mouse. Then I'll do the top next, click and drag. I think that didn't work. Let's go Command Z. Oops, did I mess that up? Let's redo edit, redo connect constraint. Okay, let's do this now. Let's do that. This isn't working. There we go. Okay, so we have the top now. So what happened is, I think you have to like actually click and drag up. You can't just click and drag up there. You have to actually do to the little circle there. So click and drag for there. Okay, now we want to change the text of the button. So select the button, and I think the text is right here. So let's do this. We'll call this sign in. Enter, and now there's sign in. So let's run it one more time, and I'll go back to the emulator, and this should be all the layout that we need. So we have our email, we have our password, and we have sign in. So we can type stuff there, we can type stuff there, we can click the sign in button, but it doesn't do anything. Okay, so now is the real test, I guess you could say. Let's go to main activity, and again, if it's not already opened up and your project panel looks like that with Android selected, so if it's closed, just open up app, Java, and then there are a number of COM files. We do not want Android test, we do not want test. Open up the first one, which is just COM. And then in this example, I named mine, when I set it up, I named it as example. But yeah, it could be anything. But also just look for main activity, double click it, and here we are. Now there's a lot of stuff going on here. We don't actually need all of this. And yours actually might look like that. Again, that can expand or close. That stuff doesn't really matter. But all this code here, let's just go ahead and delete the stuff we don't need. So I'm going to delete all of this. So if you look at your code, you should have, it should look similar to this right here. So we have, I'll Command Z a couple of times. We don't need any of that stuff. We can just get rid of it. So you should look like this, with just on create and a few lines here, set content view, set support action bar. Okay, so this is all working just fine. So what do we want to do? Let's go back to content main, and let's go ahead and select the sign in button. And it has an ID of ID. Let's name this to sign in button. Enter, and there we go. So this ID is for, it's not really for this layout. This ID is so we can use it inside of our Kotlin code. So let's go ahead and do this. And what did we name it? We named it sign in button. So sign in button. And if you start typing it, you'll notice it says, hey, it already kind of auto completes for you. And it says it's from content main. So just double click that, then put a dot, and then set on click listener. And there are a couple of options here. We want the ones with the brackets right there. So double click that. And I'm going to put an enter there. And you can see we have our, basically this is saying, hey, whenever, so get a reference to sign in button. And the sign in button is right there. And whenever you click on the sign in button, do all of this code. And we can put tons of code here, but we actually don't need any of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually, how to best do this? Well, let's do one thing at a time. So let's go ahead and do there. Let's go inside of here. So again, whenever the button's unclicked, let's do this. I'll do val, we'll do password equals, and then we'll do, we need to give an ID to it also. Okay, so go back to the design, and let's go ahead and select password. And right now it has an ID of edit text too. We'll call this password field. And we can just go ahead and click yes to that, I think. So password field is there. And I'm gonna go back to Kotlin and do equals password field. Actually, we don't need, I'm trying to think of what we need to do. Yeah, this will work for now. Okay, so password equals password field. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the next line and let's do a log statement. So let's do Daniel, then we'll do password is, and then we'll do $ password. And if you start typing it, it'll automatically correct for us. So we could use password field, but for this case, we just set up password. So password and password field are the same thing right now. Not really sure why I'm doing this, but anyways. So if you get an error there, I think I might have, if you get an error, so basically what I'm doing is I'm just doing edit, undo, and redo. So we'll just go ahead and we'll leave it like this for now. So the first thing we're gonna do is open up Logcat. Let's go ahead and type out Daniel, because we can search for certain stuff. So I'm going to save it, then I'm going to run it. And if I go back to the emulator, let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to hit the sign in button, and there we go. It says, oh, it's messed up. So it says, so password is, and then it has a long string there. But the important thing is, hey, Daniel, password. That's Daniel and password from right there. Now what we need to do is let's do this. Let's do at the end of password field, let's do dots text. And again, this is Kotlin. So what was happening is, so the reason it's displaying this right here instead of our actual password is because password field actually goes inside of this field, but we want to actually go inside of the password field and get the text. Because there's lots of stuff we can do here. But go ahead and put, so it should be password equals password field dot text. So I'm going to save that and run it. Go back to the emulator. And let's see. So sign in, I'm going to hit it. And now it says password is, oh, there's nothing in there. Okay, let's type, it's 12321. Sign in, and now it says password is, 12321. So we can type out whatever we want. We can type out secret, hit the sign in button. Now it says, password is secret. So we're getting, so now we wanna go the next level. Let's do this. Let's go here. We're gonna do something we haven't done before. So we'll do if password equals 1 2 3 4. This, what is it complaining about? Password dot text. Oh, choose. Well, let's do this. Let's do dot to string. There we go. Okay, so sorry for the confusion there. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that. We'll start it over again. So what we do is we go, hey, password, get the password. So the variable password means get the password field, get its text, and then we just need to put to string. Don't need to explain that right now. It's just something we need to put. So now let's do this. Let's do if password equals, and let's do 1 2 3 4. We'll just do 1 2 3 4 5 6. Again, one of the most popular passwords in the world. Never use this as your password for anything. Do not use this password. Okay, so we'll do if password equals 1 2 3 4 5 6. Then I want to do, let's do another log statement that says Daniel, success, your password is valid. So there it is. So we're saying, hey, get the sign in button. Whenever somebody clicks on that, do some quick setup text. And if the password equals 1 2 3 4 5 6, then go ahead and just display something to the logcat. And again, the logcat's at the bottom. You can click that button to open up the logcat. I'm going to go ahead and click the trash can button to get rid of that. And again, I'm still searching. You can search for nothing, but I'm going to go ahead and do Daniel. So I'm going to save this and I'm going to run it. And I'm going to go back to the emulator. And let's do this. Let's do 1 2 3. Sign in, nothing. It says password is 1 2 3, and again, that's from right there. But if we type in 1 2 3 4 5 6, so I'm going to go ahead and undo that. We'll do 1 2 3 4 5 6. Click the sign in button, and it says your password is valid. So this is great. We've actually, we're verifying the password. And again, don't do this in real life. In real life, you'll also want to do as a server. But in this case, so the only part that would change in real life is this if statement right there. You'd basically be getting that from Firebase or Amazon Web Services, or I'm a big fan of Google Cloud Platform, GCP or Firebase, one of those. But for now, this will work. I mean, all of the code we've written for this sign-in screen is all good. This is all good. The only thing that's bad is just this password right here, because somebody can look at the code and say, oh, I need to type in 1 2 3 4 5 6. They go to the app, they type it in, and boom, they're in. Okay, so let's go ahead and, I'm trying to think. I'm going to go ahead and stop this video actually, and in the next video, what we'll do is we'll actually go to a new screen. So again, just to verify something, go to the login. I'm going to go ahead and click the trash can button to clear that. And if I go here, if I type in, Daniel J. Malone, sign in, it just says, hey, password is Daniel J. Malone. But if we type in the unique special password, which is 1 2 3 4 5 6, click the sign in button, then it says your password is valid. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here. And in the next video, we'll actually create a new screen where it actually goes to a new screen when you have, so it'll go to a new screen whenever you click sign in button. And if the password is bad, so say we do a really long password that's really bad, we might want to display a snack bar or something like that to let the user know that, hey, it's a bad password. So anyway, hopefully you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.